Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today we are starting a very exciting reading vlog. Probably one of the most excited I've been to film a reading vlog, and it's for Alchemized by SenLinYu. This was formerly known as Manacled in the Hermione fanfiction world, but all the Harry Potter elements have been taken out, and SenLinYu's created this whole new world, this whole new cast of characters. And I'm just super excited to see what she has to offer us. This is a dark fantasy. It's not fantasy romance. I want to put a disclaimer that it's not fantasy romance. There is a romance subplot that is quite important, but it's not the main focus of the story. So we're following a character named Helena Moreno, who was this really incredible, very talented alchemist. But when the alchemist fell under the necromancers, she kind of lost her memories of her past and gets captured by the necromancers and sent to one of their high-ranking officers, the High Reeve. And I guess his task basically is to like delve into her mind and get any information he can out of her. And then from that, everything is going to expand, of course. This is very dark. Check your trigger warnings. There's a lot of them. This is a hefty book. It is 1,024 pages. Once I finish this book, this will be the longest book I've ever read. Right now, that title goes to Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. But I am so excited about this. So let me talk a little bit about my history with Manacled. Because I have friends who are very much in the fan fiction space. I am not. I don't spend a ton of time in the fan fiction world. It's something I would like to get more into because, I was pretty hesitant on getting into it. But then when I was hearing about like how incredible the storytelling was, I decided to give Manacled a try. And I made it 60% of the way through, but while I was in the middle of reading it, I put it down because SenLinYu announced that it was getting traditionally published. So I know a lot of times authors, I have no doubt that SenLinYu like treasures Manacled the way it was. I have no doubt about that. I have no doubt that the fans of Manacled love it as its own work of art. But in my mind, I would think if I was SenLinYu, I would want my readers to experience the story in a more polished way. So I think that's kind of like where I'm coming from when I put down Manacled, because I knew that she'd be able to make it as polished as she possibly can with editors and be able to create her own world. And I wanted to experience the story in that fashion. Now, let me go into what I thought about Manacled when I was reading it. I think it's an incredible piece of literature. Screw it being fan fiction. It is just on its own such an incredible story. So captivating. And it follows Draco and Hermione from Harry Potter, of course. And, I grew up with the Harry Potter franchise. It's become kind of tainted over the years, unfortunately. But I loved Hermione, and I was always a Harry and Ron shipper because that was canon. And I never gave a second thought to non-canon pairings, especially when it came to Hermione and Draco. And the funny thing is like, to me, that should have been a very obvious enemies to lovers dynamic, And so when I got into Manacled and I was able to, push past all my preconceived notions, I just realized and understood why Hermione is such a powerful fandom. And Manacled is just such an incredible piece of work. SenLinYu, her character work was amazing. And I'm just so excited to see what she brings that tone and that story to her own story. Because this is super exciting for people to take their work that's in another person's world and then be able to make it their own and like really put their heart and soul into it and make it completely theirs. So I'm very excited to experience this story in that way. Now, do I plan to go back and finish Manacled? Yes, I do. I just want to know what the differences are, and I didn't want to Google them. And I also I want to see Manacled through because I was really enjoying those versions of the characters. But I'm very excited to get to know these new characters and just really, really immerse myself into this incredible book. I have no doubt that this is going to be one of my new favorite books of all time. It might be my favorite book of the year. We're speaking too soon because I haven't even started it yet, but we shall see. But I haven't looked at the book without the dust jacket, but can we talk about how gorgeous this cover is? And I love how big the title is on the spine. And there's the back. And let's take it off. Ooh. Oh, so pretty. And on the bottom of the dust jacket, it's a maze. If you know, you know. I do remember this from Manacled, so that's really exciting. And then we have this really stunning stencil dragon on the cover. Don't know what that means yet, but I'm very excited to find out. So, yeah, I can't believe I'm actually holding this. I've been waiting for this book for so long. It's just really exciting. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say. We're going to wrap this check-in up. We're going to start reading. And I'll check in with you when I deem worthy to do so. So I'll see you guys in the next check-in. So it is a couple hours later. I have read the first 5 chapters of Alchemized, and I'm on page 91. So not a bad reading sprint, I guess. I do have some type of undiagnosed ADHD, I believe, so it's hard for me to stay focused. But 91 pages is pretty good for me. So yeah, let's talk about it. So I am gonna talk about spoilers, I believe. We'll see once this video comes out. So let's talk about Helena. Poor girl. She's getting put through it. She wakes up surrounded by these people she doesn't know in this place that she doesn't recognize. And they're asking her questions about stuff she doesn't know. It's gotta be so terrifying. But then she's able to piece together, context clues on why she's there and what her purpose has been so far. So her main focus so far has been trying not to let down Luke Holdfast. So Luke Holdfast is the chosen one in this world. He's the beacon of hope for the resistance and the eternal flame. And, he's dead. So the resistance failed. She and a bunch of other members were imprisoned, or they were reanimated as corpses to be used for the necromancer's bidding, which is just disturbing in of itself. And he was a really good friend to her. She really holds him into high regard. And the whole purpose of her so far is just to be someone that he could be proud of, someone that the resistance could be proud of. And that's kind of just her guiding light for keeping herself alive at this point. So what I've gathered is that the war, this big war that happened, was between the alchemists and the necromancers. So alchemists were led by the Holdfast family, and it was told that the Holdfast family were favored by the sun god and were given these powers. And due to that favoritism, they were able to rule this city of Palladia. And everyone trained at this academy or went to school at this academy where they were, practicing alchemy and using that to better to just make their way through the world. And the necromancers were not necessarily happy with this arrangement. They were not fans of the Holdfast and them ruling this city. And so the war basically was, the alchemists versus the necromancers, between like the morals of bad versus good. And the necromancers are obviously like the bad guys. And so they won. And so the world is just a very bleak place, obviously. And that the tone that SenLinYu has been able to like really capture and make you feel is just really impressive. Like, I feel drained already. I'm only about 100 pages in. I'm just like really drained. There's just a lot going on in here. And because the Undying, who are the necromancer's followers, they're not able to figure out like why Helena is not able to, why they're not able to access her memories. They're very curious onto why, the Resistance, the Eternal Flame, would want her. So they're doing all that they can to gain this information and use it to whatever uses they want. And in order to do this, she is sent to the High Reeves house as their prisoner. And if you remember, the High Reeve is like what the top officer in the necromancer's military. And so she is obviously very terrified of being there, as she should be. And she realizes when she comes face to face with him that he is Kane Farron, and they actually went to school together at this alchemist academy. So it's really interesting because it's inferred that Kane was an alchemist, and he's kind of chosen the dark side of necromancy. And I'm sure we'll see how we got here, but yeah, it's just been a very interesting time. And like I said, it's been bleak. And Kane is not nice, obviously. He is very scary, and I do genuinely mean he is scary. He's married to this woman named Arlie. I believe they had like an arranged marriage situation, and she's not happy with Helena being here at their manor, of course. So there's a lot going on here. I'm very much loving it, though. I think the writing it's a really interesting balance of like very accessible, but it's also very deep at the same time. I could just feel the anguish of these characters and of this situation, and I feel like that's a great thing that SenLinYu is able to portray, and it just makes me want to keep going. Like, I do plan to read quite a bit more tonight. I am going to take a quick break though, because my eyes are getting tired. So we're going to take a little break, probably eat some dinner here in a little bit. It's only about 4:30, so probably not eat just yet, but I'll get all that situated, and then I might rewatch the SenLinYu virtual event that was on Tuesday. I was in attendance of it, but I feel like I missed a lot of things, so I do kind of want to go back and watch it again just to get a little more context on what I'm reading. But I'm very much enjoying it so far, and I'm expecting it to just like really escalate, and I'm very excited to keep going. So that is my current update. I'm sorry that me going through the plot is very not cohesive, but hopefully you understood what I was talking about, and I'll try to get better as we continue on in this saga. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next update. Alright, so I'm on page 236 of this book, chapter 18, and we need to discuss. So I've been reading the past couple of days, and my first initial thoughts are like, this is a masterpiece. I haven't even gotten to like the meat of the story yet, but this is just incredible work. As I knew it was going to be, but just being able to like really sink my teeth into what this story is just wonderful. And I say that, but the thing is, it's like I am having the best time reading this book, but I'm also having the worst time reading this book because there's a lot going on here that's just really upsetting, disturbing, soul crushing. It's just a heavy book. Let's talk about some things. So I guess we'll talk about our characters. So we have Helena, who's our main character, Helena Moreno. She was captured by the necromancers, who are the bad guys in this world. And she wakes up not knowing the last few months of her life, doesn't know her purpose in the necromancer's hands, doesn't understand what's going on. And that's a very terrifying and very upsetting situation for her. And then she has to go through a lot of really intense things at the hands of the necromancers. But what she's able to gather in these small pieces is that she was important in some capacity. She just doesn't understand what it was. And that's the things the necromancers are trying to find out. The necromancers are led by this being called the High Necromancer. He's the top of the food chain. He's the leader of this movement, the leader of these people. And his followers are called the Undying. And basically his shtick is that in order to recruit people into his army, he promised immortality. And with that immortality comes a lot of different consequences. And that topic is briefly explained in the book. But there's this like really interesting moral conundrum between using the dead, because essentially what they're able to do is they hold their power because they're able to take the dead and reanimate them to do their bidding. So they're able to form armies, they're able to form weapons, they're able to form their house slaves. It's a very interesting conundrum, and we haven't really delved into that too much because I'm still like in the very beginnings of this book. I mean, I'm 200 pages in, but it's a 1,000-page book, so we have a lot of way to go. I've kind of gone on a tangent, I'm sorry. But so their treatment of Helena is not great. They know that she is important and her mind is blocked off. She can't tell them what she can't remember, and they can't access what's in her mind. And so she's given to the High Reeve, which is one of the high-ranking officers in the Necromancers. And his name is Kane Farron, and he is someone that she knew in school. She was surprised to see that Kane is actually the High Reeve. It just seemed like something he would have no interest in. But Kane's a very complex character. You can tell from the get-go that he's very cold, he's very damaged, he's very just broken. He's a broken human. And you can tell that he does have some type of protection over Helena, even though he tries his best to not show it. He tries his best to remove his feelings from this situation. We don't have any context of any of this yet. We will definitely get there, I'm sure. But I'm very interested to see where he develops as a character. And their dynamic, Helena and Kane's dynamic, is very interesting because she knows she can't trust him. She knows she hates him. She knows that she should hate him, but there is like this underlying form of care between the two. They can't really come to terms with why that is. And so it will be very interesting to see how their dynamic develops over time. And Helena makes references to her friend Luke Holdfast. So Luke Holdfast is the chosen one. He's the one that was gonna lead the alchemists, who are quote unquote good guys, lead them to redemption, lead them to revolution, lead them to success. But that didn't happen. So Luke was killed. A lot of the people that Helena knew were killed. They lost, and the Necromancers won, and they took over, and they're living in that world. And it's a very there's a lot of elements. Well, I wouldn't say a lot, but there's definitely elements taken from like The Handmaid's Tale, where they're trying to push women's roles to the bare minimum, and using them to breed more powerful magical beings. And it's done through a very intense and very disturbing way. There's a lot of violence against women in this story, and I'm sure I haven't even seen the worst of it, but it's been pretty brutal so far. So again, like, I'm having the best time reading this book, but I'm also having the worst time reading this book. There's just a lot going on. Like, I think about this book constantly. I haven't been able to read too much today, but I have been just on a loop thinking about these characters. And I'm so interested to see where this story takes us. So things are going great. And SenLinYu is an especially talented writer to make me this invested in these characters without giving me all the context that I need, that I would normally need to really fall in love with characters, but I'm already there with these two. So I'm very excited to keep going, and hopefully I'll have some more updates for you guys. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next update. Okay, so I just read the first SA scene. And I want to talk about it because I do feel like it's something that we need to address. That was hard. Like, just, it was only a couple pages, but the emotional impact of that scene has drained me. That was extremely hard to read. It wasn't physically graphic at all, which I'm happy about, but it was emotionally graphic. Like, it was absolutely gut-wrenching and devastating, because it's the situation that Helena and Cain are in is so fucked up. Because, you know, we know there is a history there. We don't know exactly what that is. I'm getting emotional just talking about it. There is definitely a backstory here, and you could tell, because Helena doesn't know the context, but Cain obviously does. And the fact that after the event he went to the bathroom and had a puke was it was just so fucked up. Like, this whole idea of having to have these women on hand to be nothing but birthing vessels is so upsetting. It's so disgusting. And I don't know what else to say. But like, I'm happy that I am disgusted because that just means that SenLinYu is really taking care in making it like emotionally charged, without making it tacky and making it like shock value. Like, it was very, very tastefully done. And I know I could tell that there's a lot of care that went into those portions of the book. But this is the first one. I know there's going to be more coming up, and I'm not looking forward to that. But for the context, I didn't explain the context, but so Helena is believed to be an alchemiser, which from what I can gather is like a special alchemist who can manipulate the mind. And she and Morrow, the high necromancer, wants Cain, his high reeve, to impregnate Helena to form a more valuable offspring. So Cain is being forced upon her, and it's just as much SA on his end as it is on hers. And I don't want to compare the two traumas because, like, obviously there's nuance here, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but it's just a horrific situation for them. And I just want to address that now while it's still fresh in my mind. But yeah, that was hard. That was really hard to read. So I'm going to keep going. But like, this book is just so emotionally charged. It's probably the most emotional book I've read ever. So yeah, we're just going to trudge along. I'll see you guys in the next update. And another quick note, Stroud can fuck off. She can absolutely fuck off. What a horrible, horrible person. Like, the way she's talking to Helena, checking up on her. Like, this is like a day after. She can go to hell. That's it. Alright, so I haven't updated you guys in a little bit on Alchemized. I think the last time we talked, I was still in part one, but now I'm a good chunk of the way through part two. So let's kind of like do a quick summary of what happened. So, if we go back to part one, Helena and Cain were successful in getting her pregnant. And she was not happy about that, obviously. I think the only thing she asked was for their baby to not be harmed, and Cain promised. That was just so hard. Because he saw how traumatic this whole thing was going to be for her, so he promised that no one would hurt their baby. And then by the end of part one, she was remembering everything. So then we go back to 5 years before, I think it was, and then we started part two, which is the flashbacks. So during this time, Helena is working as a healer in the hospital for the Eternal Flame, and she's not taken very seriously, which is really upsetting. And she is having a hard time coming to terms with what the priorities are for the Eternal Flame. And she is trying to find a way to convince them to use necromancy to help their cause, because they are losing the war. She knows that they're going to lose. And that opinion kind of turns everyone against her. And it's just such a frustrating situation. This whole book is so frustrating for Helena. Like, I can't imagine being her, having to deal with all this stuff. And then we have Crowther, Jan Crowther, who I don't really care for, honestly. But he is in charge of, I guess, forming this partnership between her and Cain, because Cain, who is in the higher ranks of the necromancers, wants to help the Eternal Flame win the war. So he's working against his kind. And one of the conditions was a full pardon on all of his war crimes, and for Helena to be his forever. And they're kind of just very desperate and kind of like will do anything to win the war. So they kind of sell Helena over to Cain. So and then from there, they meet every few days to exchange information, and there's a lot of hostility between them two, and that's putting it very lightly. And yeah, I don't know what else to talk about in the plot, but character-wise, Helena she's broken 1000%. She's not quite to the level that we started out with. We are going to get there eventually, unfortunately. And so Cain shows up, and she's very surprised because, he didn't seem like the type to want to work his way up and become someone important in the world or in this war. And so she's just kind of taken aback about why he all of a sudden wants to help, why he and so she just, Helena doesn't really know what to make of Cain. And so right now we're still in the midst of them trying to like really work out what their dynamic is. He doesn't know exactly what he wants from her just yet, and Helena's instructions were to like just keep him happy at all costs, and they don't care what she has to do, sell her body, sell her soul, they don't care. And I think that's the thing I've come to terms with, that's just kind of disturbing and very upsetting is that even the good guys are not always good guys. Like, there's a lot of throwing morals out the window to support a cause. But at what end do you support a cause, and what are you willing to sacrifice in order to help that cause succeed? I think that's a really fascinating question that SenLinYu has brought to our attention. And I'm loving all the philosophical themes that are being introduced in this book. Morality is a really big one. And I agree with Helena. Like, it's really hard not to. I mean, granted, we're in her perspective, so it's kind of easy to empathize with her. But she wants to do an ethical way of using necromancy to help their cause, and they are just not having it. Because she's in the hospital, she is continuously getting traumatized over and over and over and over again, and no one is paying attention to her. No one, unless you're working in that hospital, you don't know what is going on. And yes, everyone's experiencing their own trauma, 1000%. Luke and all the others who are, on the front lines fighting these battles, they're experiencing their own trauma, and what they're doing is important. No one is discrediting that, but everyone discrediting Helena's contributions is like really upsetting, because we know what this is doing to her. We know that she's constantly, just repeatedly getting re-traumatized over and over and over again, and it's taken such a toll on her that she's like, okay, we're at the point where we literally have no other option but to use this necromancy. Like, if we can find an ethical way to do this, can we please just do it so we can win this war and everyone can try to move on from this? And they're not having it. And Helena, we kind of get a glimpse of Helena's relationship to Luke and her other friends. I'm having a hard time calling them her friend other than Luke. Luke's the only one that like really seems to appreciate her. I am more interested to see their dynamic. We haven't had a ton of development there yet, but I think we're definitely going to. But I'm really interested to see where that goes. But I'm absolutely obsessed with this book, guys. Like, I don't want to speak too soon. Because I'm only on page 407, chapter 33 of an over 1,000 page book. But I think we might be entering favorite book of all time territory. Like, I have not been this engrossed, this moved, this obsessed with a book in quite some time. Like, I genuinely don't remember a time where like a fantasy book of this caliber has just completely consumed me, body, mind, and soul. Because I'm really connecting with Helena. I'm really like very much connected to Helena, and I understand I'm with her on this journey. Like, I'm going through the ringer with her. We all are, honestly, who's reading this book. But just the feelings that this book is making me experience is something I have not dealt with in such a long time. I'm feeling very, very passionate about this story. It's moving me very much. It's a very complicated, a very heavy story. I don't feel great reading it, to be quite frank, just because it's so bleak. But it's such an important story, and I think it's one that a lot of us can relate to. And it's kind of putting a lot of things in the world in perspective for me, especially. And I'm really excited to dive more into Kane's character because he's just such a broken person. Like, he is just tired. He's just tired of everything. And I want him and Helen to experience some joy with each other. And I know that's asking a lot. That's asking a lot from this book. But I need them to have some moments of purity, of just some good. Because not one good thing has happened to these people. And it's very upsetting. So I wanted to update the vlog, but I'm going to go continue reading this. And I guess that's it. I'll see you guys in the next update. Okay, it's currently the next day, but I do have an unboxing of a signed copy of Alchemized. It's from the virtual event that she did a few days ago, or I guess a week ago at this point. I don't remember. Anyway, I thought I got lost. It did not. It showed up, and we're going to open it. All right, so it's just the standard copy of Alchemized. And we have a bookmark from the strand, which is really cool. And I completely forgot about this, but we get an art print of the world. So here's Palladia, which is the town that, or the city that Alchemized takes place in. And I'm going to carefully show this to you guys. So there's Sen's autograph. So that's really exciting. And I'm becoming absolutely obsessed with this book. It is completely bewitching me, body and soul. So I'm going to go back to reading. I do want to talk about something real quick about how it's just really frustrating how underestimated and how misunderstood Helena is when it comes to the Eternal Flame, because they're impossible. They are absolutely impossible. And just because she's a Vivimancer, there's a lot of prejudice against her, and there's literally no winning with her. She's either against them or for them. And every time she tries to help, it gets thrown back in her face. So I'm kind of almost to the point where I'm like, I wish she would just look at them and go, you know what? Screw you guys. Go win this war on your own. Save all these people by yourself. That would have been very, very satisfying. But it's not. So anyway, I am going to go back to reading, and I will see you guys in the next update. Okay, so it's a little bit later. Actually, it's a few hours later. And I've made more progress in the book. But I do want to talk about Helena and Kane's dynamic, because it's definitely very fascinating to watch unfold, because she holds so much care just for life in general and for people. And she cannot help caring about Kane, even though that he's horrible. He's so horrible to her. But she sees the pain that he's going through on his end, and she just is incredibly empathetic to him. So it's just forcing her to like have to bear the brunt of his moods, putting it lightly. And Cain is doing everything he can, really, to protect her, but under the guise that it's all for him. And that's something, and that's definitely something that Helena believes, is that he's really only doing all this to help himself, which he definitely is. But the added benefit for him is that he's protecting her. She's not clocking that, but I definitely am. Um, and there's, I don't know, it's just very interesting. I've never read a romance like this before, where it's just so broken. And I know that's a word I keep using, but they are both just so damaged and so broken. It's insane. Like, something I keep seeing people talk about on Instagram is people are picking the book up and they're getting upset because it's not a romance book. Like, this book is not a romance, not in the slightest. This is a war book. This is a book about trauma. This is a book about war. It's a book about humanity. And the romance is definitely part of the story. I mean, obviously, it's one of the main factors of the story, but it's not the only factor of the story. And when people are getting, like, I think it's doing a disservice when people are talking about the romance so much, because as much as I'm enjoying the development of it, it's not the main reason why I am loving this book so much. It's the characters. The character work that SenLinYu is doing in this book is absolutely masterful. There's so much nuance, and there's so, like, there's a lot of subtleties going on here, especially in Cain's, in the case of Cain. And yeah, I'm just very much enjoying all the character work going on, even though a lot of the stuff that the characters are doing is driving me crazy and making me very angry. And that's more on, like, the Eternal Flames side of things. Just, I know I keep talking about this, but it's just, not everyone can be good all the time. Not everyone can make the best decisions all the time. And where do we draw the line on where humanity begins and where it ends? I think we're losing a lot of that as the war goes on and more things are having to come up and be dealt with. It's just stripping humanity completely away from both sides. Except for Luke. Luke is the spearhead of this whole thing. He's the chosen one. He's the one that's going to save everyone from this evil. But they're very naive. Like the commentary on religion is also quite fascinating. I think is very to what's going on in the world today. As a person of faith, it's very interesting to see how faith is being discussed in this, because Helena at some point is losing her faith because they're saying it's whatever soul, the sun god, whatever soul's will is, it will be done. I mean, is that not relevant, to modern Christianity and whatnot? And Helena is just like not rolling her eyes, but she's questioning why they can't just use the tools that are available to them. But Luke makes a point of we have to draw a line somewhere, and that's the line that they're drawing about using necromancy. So, yeah, I am loving this book. It's a heavy book. I'm only able to really get to small chunks at a time because it's just a lot. But like I think about nothing but this book. I think about this constantly. I think about it all day long. And we're getting into favorite book of all time territory at this point. So, all right. I think that was all gibberish I just talked about, but we'll try to make sense of this in editing. So, I'm going to get back to reading, and I'll see you guys in the next update. Well, I just finished chapter 47, and that was a brutal chapter. Like, I'm drained just from just reading that. So Helena and Cain had their first intimate moment together, and it led to a plethora of feelings that were not good. Like, it was a moment of passion, and they just needed each other in that moment. Because Helena is having such a hard time with the fact that Ilva from the Eternal Flame has tasked her to either kill him or prove that he's loyal to the Resistance, and she's having a hard time with that. And Cain knows that he's being played. He's known the entire time, and he's been expecting it, and so this pressure cooker of emotions just kind of let loose, and that came out physically. And then Cain told Helena about his reasonings of why he joined the Resistance, or why he's helping the Resistance. And it was to avenge his mother, who was tortured by Morrow. And Cain pretty much sold himself to him so he would leave her alone. But after seeing what they've done to Cain, she died of a heart attack. So it was very upsetting. Watching him break was very upsetting. And he just doesn't want to care anymore. I think that's something that both of them are very, that they can relate to each other on, is the fact they just wish they could not care anymore. Helena pretty much has broken off her friendship with Luke. And yeah, it's very bleak. And Helena found out that everything they've been told was a lie about the religion, about soul, and all of that was to help cover up the sunstone. I think that's what it's called, which is a stone that is now in Cain. So yeah, there's a lot going on, and I still have like 8 hours of the audiobook left, so I'm gonna keep going, but I needed a break because that was tough. That was emotionally draining, but I'm still enjoying myself. Still rocking and rolling. So I'll see you guys in the next update. Okay, so I'm sorry. This is the spot that you're getting all my updates. I am on I did stop in the middle of a chapter of 668 pages into the book. And a lot has gone down since we last spoke. So Luke got captured by the necromancers, and Helena was brought in by Soren on this little mission squad to go in and get him out. Obviously things go wrong. They get attacked by a bunch of necrothals. We lose, I forget what that person's name is. I'm going to put it on the screen. But more importantly, Soren was killed, and it was awful. The reason why he brought Helen onto this mission is because he asked her to perform necromancy on his body if he ended up dying. So Helena does perform necromancy on him and ends up putting a part of her soul into him to help reanimate him. So he helps the fight. They win. Well, only because Cain showed up and just unleashed hell on everyone, and knocked everyone out pretty much. And then once, they have their conversation when she comes to, they go back to headquarters at the Institute. Luke is completely shattered. He had a lot of things done to him while he was prisoner, and he lets it known that Helena performed necromancy on Soren because he saw it, but they are covering that up per Ilva's discretion. And then Helena is kind of going crazy because that part of her that she gave to Soren is like imbued in his in the necromancy magic, and so she's like going into shock and seeing things and like feeling things. And so she goes to Cain to get some help, and then from that interaction, oh my god, the heart-wrenching heartache that I get from their interactions at this point is so freaking tragic. They just are so lonely, and they just want someone to care for them in this horrible situation that they're in. They just want intimacy. They just want someone to fucking care about them. And I, like, not to put myself into this story or anything, but like, I feel that on such an intimate level. And so I'm fully in with them. It's not a good relationship. It's a very codependent, very toxic relationship. But I completely understand the need to just wanting someone to fucking care about you and all this madness. Like, I feel that to my bones. And so I feel I relate very much to Cain and Helena. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. I'm sorry, I just kind of went on a mini rant there, but like, I just feel very strongly about these characters. They are now imbued, I keep saying that word, they're now ingrained into my soul, into my spirit. I'm scared for them and what's to come. I'm very terrified, but we must trudge on. I am going to stop for the night because I'm just so emotionally drained. I haven't even really cried. I teared up quite a few times in tonight's reading session, but I've had like some personal news and stuff today that's just like it's making it a very difficult evening. So we're going to take a break from this heartache and get ready for bed. So I don't know when you're going to see me next. I'm probably going to check in after I finish part 2. I don't know how much further I have, but we shall see. But I will see you guys in the next update. Sorry about the glitter, but I had a package come in from Out of Print, and it's their exclusive Alchemized merch. So we're gonna take a look at it together, which has the quote, "You're like a rose in a graveyard." And there's Helena down here. It says Alchemized on the back. Mine's a little damaged, but it's fine. And then I also got a t-shirt. And I've never ordered a Out of Print shirt before, so this is new for me. That's pretty cool. So here's the tag. It says Alchemized. I'm gonna take it off. And then I got the front and back design. So we have the House of Farron sigil here. And then we have Kane's array on the back of it. So that's pretty cool. I am going to try it on real quick and see if it fits. So give me a second and I'll do that. And luckily it fits. So yeah, I haven't read too much of Alchemized today. I read a little bit during my lunch. But I want to get further into the book before I give you guys another update. So I guess that's it for tonight. I might read a little bit more. I just came back from a friend's house. But I don't think I'm up to read anything. So we'll see. But I will see you guys in the next update. I've been crying for like the last hour. I'm about to be done with part 2, and I am so terrified. I am terrified. I'm so scared. I'm so scared. Here we go. This book is going to fucking kill me. It's going to kill me. Well, I did it. I finished Alchemized. And this is not only the longest book I've ever read, it's also the best book I've ever read. I finished it about 45 minutes ago, so I've kind of let the book sit with me for a minute. I am going to do like more of a wrap up tomorrow, but just initially, what a book. What a book. It's a masterpiece. I don't know what else to say. I cried a lot today. There was a lot going on. In particular, I read a lot of the book today, so I'm trying really hard to think of specifics, but when Helena had to kill Luke, that was a big one for me. When Helena and Kane told each other that they loved one another for the first time, that was gut-wrenching. Those were like the two big instances I can think of. I'm sure there were more, but I cried a lot today. My eyes are really puffy. I don't know if you can tell. But that ending, the ending alone, just the last page. Oh my God. Just the fact that Kane and Helena's story will never be told to the people of Palladia is like crazy. I understand it, but it's really doing such a disservice because they did so much for the war. And I don't know, like, this might still be wrong, but like, I feel like I'm so drained. Like, this is by far, it's no contest at this point that this is my favorite book of all time. Like, I don't know what to say. I really don't. These two characters, like, it's all hitting me now, but these two characters went through so much in this book. I'm so happy that they were able to, that they were able to cling to each other and just win. They lost so much, but they won at life, I guess. God, their story is just so tragic. I don't know what to say. It's just so tragic. My brain is mush at this point. So this probably wasn't the best idea, but you're getting a raw reaction. I don't know how to go on from this book. I really don't. Yeah, you got my thoughts. I'll talk more about them tomorrow. But this was such a masterpiece and such a special book. And at this point, I'm never going to move on. I don't know how I can. Alright, it is time to finally wrap up this vlog. So, feelings last night have not really changed on this book. My favorite book of all time. I will think about these characters for the rest of my life. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. But just generally, SenLinYu is a masterful storyteller. It's kind of interesting because she was able to create a story about war that was so gritty, so dark, and so emotional without showing the actual battles a lot of the time. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't give her enough credit for. Because, Luke and Lila and Soren and all of them, they're on the front lines. They're the ones doing the fighting. But since the story is told from Cain, well, really from Helena's point of view, we don't get to see a lot of that, but we see the aftermath. And the aftermath, a lot of the times, is perceived by everyone in the war to be worse than what's going on in the front line. So you could probably argue that Helena is probably going through the more tragic part of the war. And that's definitely something that was told masterfully in Alchemized. And I think that I was able to really get invested in these characters. Helena and Cain are just so complex, and they're so three-dimensional. You could probably do these different thesis on each of these characters about trauma and about how war affects people. And I do think that the moral dilemma of this story was very well done because it's not so black and white. Not everyone on the bad guy's side is bad, and not everyone on the good side is good. And there's a lot of nuance there, and I think SenLinYu was able to explore that very well. Helena and Cain's dynamic, their relationship, was everything to me. It was very very hard to read at times. It was very wonderful to read at times. But I go back to just how tragic both of their lives are, and where they end up by the end of the book is you get a sense of peace and closure. Well, maybe not closure exactly, but you do get a sense of peace of where Cain and Helena are, and where sense on like where Enid's story is gonna go. Their daughter Enid, I thought that was. I don't really like when children are introduced to books like that, but I think the way the SenLinYu was able to wrap up their story by introducing Enid was a very lovely way to put a bow on this book, and how they were able to take something that came out of a horrible situation and turn it into something good was, I thought, a very nice touch as well. Just overall, I don't really have any notes. Like, this is the fastest I've ever read a book like this. I think I actually read this quicker than I did Kingdom of Ash. And this is like 100 pages long, maybe not 100 pages, but like 30 or 40 pages longer than Kingdom of Ash. And I was able to read it in about a week, a little over a week. So, yeah, I don't, this book was perfect. It's gonna stick with me for the rest of my life. And something I'm very hesitant to read Manacled at this point, because Cain and Helena are now like really their own characters to me. They're their own people, and I don't want to see them as other people's interpretations of other characters. So I think I'm going to either give myself a long break before I go into Manacled, or I'm just not going to read Manacled. I don't know. Let me know below what you guys suggest, because I'm honestly not sure. But yeah, I will remember this book forever. I don't know how they're going to make a movie out of it, unless they do like a trilogy, like what they did with The Hobbit. They just split it into 3 movies, which is what they would probably have to do. But there's a lot of dark material here. We'll just have to see what happens. I mean, a movie can never be made. I don't know, but I would be there for it. That's for sure. And I am wearing my shirt from Out of Print. This is the new Alchemized shirt with the House of Farron sigil here, and then Cain's Array is on the back of it. And yeah, I'm just rambling at this point, but thank you guys so much for watching this very long video. I'm so sorry it's this long, but this book deserved an entire hour of your life. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm pretty proud of it so far. So yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next time, and you can follow me on Instagram. You can subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you around. We can talk about books some more. So thank you guys again for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time.